The Galactic Council's security checkpoint hummed with the usual chaos of 1,000 species passing through its scanners. Marin stood patiently in line, her worn expedition pack slung over one shoulder, while the quadrupedal Korik pressed close against her leg, closer than regulations technically allowed. "Citizen?" The Vaxil security officer's translator crackled, his crystalline eyes narrowing at the sight before him. "You are aware that Rethka cubs are classified as apex predators under Section 12 of the Transit Authority Codes?" Marin glanced down at Korik, whose scaled head barely reached her hip, his amber eyes blinking up at her with what she'd learned to recognize as contentment. To the untrained eye, he looked like a bipedal reptilian wolf, all teeth and claws and coiled muscle beneath silver-black scales. To her, he was just Korik. "I'm aware," she said simply. The officer's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Then you understand that allowing an unbonded predator species to maintain physical contact during security processing violates 12 separate protocols?" 13, actually, Marin corrected gently. "You forgot the shoe-feeding proximity statute." Behind her, several aliens shifted nervously. A Pelian merchant clutched her younglings closer. An elderly Thros diplomat activated his personal shield with a low hum. The security officer's scales flushed orange, a sign of confusion that Marin had learned to read during her 3 years on the station. "You mock our laws, human?" "No, sir. Just pointing out that I'm breaking 13 protocols, not 12. "Why?" The word came out as a hiss. "Why would you willingly endanger yourself and others by keeping such a creature close?" Marin felt Korik's tail wrap loosely around her ankle, not possessive but seeking reassurance. She reached down absently, scratching behind the ridge of horns that crowned his head. The motion was so natural, so unrehearsed, that several onlookers flinched. "Because I shared first," she said. The officer stared at her. Around them, the checkpoint had gone quiet. "Explain." Marin sighed, shifting her weight. This was going to take a while. 3 years ago, I was part of a xenobiology survey team on Rethkar Prime. We were supposed to observe from a distance, standard protocol for pre-contact apex species. But our shuttle malfunctioned, crashed in the northern wastes. She felt Korik press closer at the memory. His species didn't understand human language, not really, but he understood tone. He understood her. I was the only survivor. Broken ribs, fractured leg. No way to signal for rescue through the magnetic interference. I had enough rations for maybe a week if I stretched them. And then Korik found me. "You should have been devoured," the officer said flatly. "Rethka cubs are documented killing prey twice their size at that developmental stage." "He tried," Marin admitted with a slight smile. "Circled my camp for 2 days waiting for me to weaken. Problem was I was already weak. Could barely stand. Definitely couldn't run or fight." She paused, remembering the cold nights, the pain, the certainty that she would die on that frozen world. "On the 3rd day, I was trying to choke down a ration bar. They taste like recycled plastic, you know, and I saw him watching from behind some rocks. Just a cub, maybe 2 months old, separated from his pack, starving like me." The checkpoint remained silent. Even the ambient hum of the scanner seemed to fade into the background. "I did something stupid," Marin continued. "I broke the ration bar in half and tossed it toward him. Humans do this thing. We share food when we're vulnerable. It's instinct, I guess. Pack behavior." I didn't expect him to understand. "But he did," the security officer said slowly. "Not at first. He grabbed the piece and ran. But he came back the next day, and the day after that. By the end of the week, he was sleeping 5 meters from my shelter instead of 50. By the 2nd week, we were sharing body heat at night to survive the cold. When rescue finally came, he followed me to the shuttle." Marin looked down at Korik, whose eyes had closed in contentment under her gentle scratching. The council wanted to return him to Rethkar Prime, but their xenobiologist said something had changed. He'd imprinted, bonded. His pack wouldn't accept him back, not after he'd adopted human behaviors. So they gave me a choice: leave him to die alone, or take responsibility for what I'd started. You chose to keep an apex predator as a companion." The officer's tone was unreadable. "I chose to honor the contract I made when I shared first," Marin corrected. Korik learned that food could be given, not just taken. That vulnerability could be mutual, not just exploited. That's not a human thing or a Rethka thing, it's a pack thing. "And we're a pack now." She met the officer's crystalline gaze steadily. "So yes, he eats with me. He sleeps near me. He stays close in crowded places because that's what pack does. I broke your protocols the moment I shared that first meal, and I'd do it again. The security checkpoint remained frozen for a long moment. Then unexpectedly the officer's scales shifted to a pale blue. Recognition, perhaps even respect. The cubs eat with you because you shared first, he repeated slowly, as if testing the weight of the words. Yes. The officer deactivated his scanner. There is a human saying I have heard. Feed a stray, gain a shadow. Your species has a dangerous habit of turning predators into family. Marin smiled. We have a dangerous habit of recognizing that hungry and desperate looks the same across species lines, and that sometimes sharing what little you have is how you survive. The officer waved them through. Pass, human Marin. You and your pack. As they walked toward the departure gates, Korik's tail still wrapped around her ankle. Marin heard the Pelian merchant whisper to her younglings. You see, children? That is why humans are dangerous. Not because they fight predators, but because they feed them first and ask questions later. Marin didn't correct her. It was, after all, completely true.